Today, we're going to be talking about Serbia. And no, I don't mean Siberia, and certainly not Syria. I'm talking about a country in the Balkans that only has about 7 million people. Technically, it was only founded in 2006, but it does have thousands of years of history. It interacted with the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire. It was occupied by the Nazis during the Second World War, and it also existed as a kingdom and as a communist country as well. That was not part of the Soviet Union, it's worth mentioning. So there's a lot to unpack there, but more importantly, I've been here for 5 weeks, so I'm officially an expert now. So the obvious question is, why Serbia? And the truth is, I've been wanting to go to Europe for quite a while now. I was working for the government of Canada since 2013, and I made a couple of big moves this year. I quit my job. I did not take a leave of absence. I actually quit my job. I sold my house. I sold my car. I rented an apartment in the meantime, and then I sublet that apartment. I got a storage locker, as you do. And, I decided to kind of take the leap and see what's possible. Basically, I've had this idea for a business for quite a while, and I thought it would be a good time to make that leap and take this chance. But the truth is, I did do quite a bit of research. I talked to my family and friends about it. I first visited Serbia in 2023 in January. I literally only came for a week to make sure that it seemed pretty good based on what I knew about the country. And the truth is, it kind of confirmed what I was hoping. So I heard that Serbia had very warm and welcoming people, which is definitely true. The cost of living is a lot lower, even in Belgrade, compared to a city like Ottawa, which is my hometown. And visa requirements are pretty lax, which is like a big factor. If you don't have an EU passport, you do have to justify why you're there. And it's easy if you have an employer there that's sponsoring you, or you go there on a retirement visa or a study visa. But basically, if you're an entrepreneur, it depends on your particular circumstances. So that's why I was interested in Serbia. And ultimately, I'm very happy with the choice that I made. I've only been here for 5 weeks, and I'll be here for another 5 weeks or so, and then I'll keep living the digital nomad life, as it's called. But ultimately, I do plan on moving here next year if all things goes well. And I'm just going to keep talking a little bit about how it's been so far, just to give an overview. When I first got to Serbia, I was kind of on a tight schedule. I had a wedding to attend on the Saturday. I left the country on Monday, and there was a music festival I wanted to go to that started on Wednesday. And as you may know, flights to Europe from Canada are generally overnight. So I left that Monday night, arrived here Tuesday morning, and then that day I went to a smaller city in Serbia called Novi Sad. So for context, Belgrade is the capital and the most important city in Serbia by far. It has 2 million people, and it has grown quite a bit over the past few years for external reasons, which I'll explain in a little bit. But Novi Sad has about 300,000 people. It has a pretty different history than Belgrade because that was really part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and you can see that in the architecture, just how pretty it is, and the linguistic diversity of that city. So I'll do an actual blog post about Novi Sad. Like, I want to film some good content because it really is a beautiful city. And the reason why I was there was for this festival called Exit. So Exit Music Festival is the biggest music festival in Serbia by far. It's often rated as one of the top EDM or electronic dance music festivals in Europe. and it's a 4-day event or so. So I bought my tickets in advance, and I got to see people like Oliver Tree, the Black Eyed Peas, a few DJs and bands that I hadn't heard about before. And the last concert that I saw was from Steve Angelo, who's very well known, and he has this really famous song. Maybe I'll play a clip of it. I'm not sure yet. But I'll at least link the song to the description. And the festival was fantastic. It started at 7 p.m. every night, which was great because it was so hot. It was literally 37, 38 degrees every day. Often it would get up to 40. So to have something during daytime would be kind of absurd. So every night would go from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. if you really wanted to be hardcore. I never planned on being there for, you know, 12 hours a day, 4 days in a row, give or take, because I just was not looking for that type of experience. But I did get what I wanted out of it because I decided to pay a bit more for the VIP tickets. I paid around 450 Canadian or so for the VIP tickets for like a 4-day pass, including everything. And then the regular ones were like 250 or something. But the main thing that enticed me is like there's a separate area. So I knew there were tens of thousands of people that went to this festival. And it was definitely a good call because at least you could be treated like a human being. That's the way I explain it. Because the people that are in the pit for the big concerts are kind of like cattle. It's not that people are pushing in that, but it's just thousands upon thousands of people that want to listen to really fun music. So on the first night I saw Oliver Tree, and it was good for that, but I was very interested in seeing the Black Eyed Peas for nostalgia purposes. It was a great concert. I enjoyed it. The only thing that was kind of a letdown is when they talked about this special guest that they were bringing on and how Where is the Love could not have been possible without this person. And I'm not throwing any shade at her, but she was a type of producer of some kinds. And I think that maybe I wasn't the only one to expect to see Fergie. Like, I would have lost my shit if Fergie was performing at that event. But it was still a great concert nonetheless. They are definitely professionals, and they still care enough to put on a good show 20 some years in their career. So I respect that, and I really had a good time at that show. Now, unfortunately, I was kind of sick that first week here. I don't know if it was a cold of some kind, but I was sleeping all these weird hours. And then it didn't help that the Steve Angelo concert was starting at 4 in the morning. So I slept, like I went to bed at like 9 p.m. or something, and then I woke up at 2. I might get the hours a bit off, but I I went for like on time. I think I might have gone there an hour early, so I got there at 3. It was early to the concert, and it was really a great show. You could tell the people that have been there for like many days in a row for many hours, they were looking a bit worse for wear. No judgment, but like if you're gonna go without sleeping for like 4 nights in a row, you're probably gonna look a little bit haggard. It was still an amazing concert. I got a lot of great footage from that festival. I haven't really posted much of it. I put a few Black Eyed Peas things, but I do have some other stuff that I'll be putting at a later time. So, great concerts. I got what I wanted out of it. And during that first week, I got to understand a little bit of, just going to the grocery store, and I would actually go out to a few of the many parks and like read my book. And there's also some really nice bridges, and with the festival being held in a fortress, which is kind of unique, and it's kind of surrounded by a forest as well. They would light up that fortress at night, and it made for like really beautiful views. So I was very happy that I went to that festival. Afterwards, I took the train to Belgrade, and this train is a big deal for them because it used to take an hour 15 or so, and now it takes 36 minutes. It's a fast train that essentially is being funded by Chinese companies so they could connect Greece to Budapest, Hungary. So it's a huge infrastructure investment so they could ship to the city in Greece and then go by train for that to be spread throughout the rest of Europe. So obviously, there's a huge economic incentive for China to do that, but the track is also shared with passenger trains. So 36 minutes to go between those two cities is amazing because they're actually quite different, not just in population but in their history. I don't think I could live in Novi Sad just because there are fewer activities there. So you kind of have to get used to a more laid back lifestyle, and there's just so many things to do in Belgrade that I didn't move like halfway across the world, so I could stay in my place all day and enjoy the architecture. I want to go do things. So Novi Sad, great place, not for me specifically, but we're definitely going to do an actual video of that because it's really an amazing city. So I get to Belgrade, and I have a week or so before my Serbian language classes start. So I think we'll end it there, and then we'll take on Belgrade in the next segment. So I arrive in Belgrade, and I know I have about a week and a half before an intensive language program starts, where I would go on to try and learn Serbian. I know I want to make friends and I want to get oriented in the city a little bit. There are over a dozen walking tours within the city, and there's many more that go outside the city. So I went on a few of them, including with someone from Ottawa that just happened to be in town. I'm very happy I reached out to him while he was still in another country because he seemed to be doing this ex Yugoslavian country tour, and the timing worked out well. So we went on an actual walking tour together and then had lunch afterwards. So that was really cool and unexpected. And I also made friends with people that actually live here in Belgrade, which is really important. I knew that I wanted to start building a social network here, not an online one, like an actual social network. And yeah, I'm happy to say that there's a lot of events for the international community, or expats, as they sometimes advertise themselves. So it truly is a vibrant city. There's about 2 million people here, and that's grown a lot over the past few years. So there are many opportunities to meet people from other countries, including people from Russia, because since the beginning of the war in Ukraine, which was in February 2022, there has been a big influx of Russians that have come to Belgrade. About 100,000 people, and it has affected the real estate market here just because there was more demand and the supply is limited. So there are pros and cons to that. But one interesting thing I found about a lot of the Russians that moved here is that almost all of them work in IT. Could be for a Russian company, could be for an American company, but they all work remotely for the most part. And then many of the men that I spoke to didn't seem to be that attached to Serbia. This is just my opinion, but it seems as though they're staying here for now because there's obviously huge economic sanctions against Russia. And A lot of them have said that they're looking forward to the end of the war because they either want to go back home or they want to not have to try and work around these economic sanctions, which do have an effect on people's lives. So that will probably have an effect on Belgrade as well, just because of the huge influx of Russian immigrants over the past few years. So at these international events, you could go and meet some great people. That's what I did. I've been hanging out with some of them. And it's interesting too to see the extent to which people are attached to a place. Some people are just kind of passing by, like, I'm here for the weekend, met some nice people from Turkey or Australia, the USA. But it's good, I think, to also make friends with people that live where you are so you could feel a little bit more at home. So, been able to do that a little bit. And like I said, I'm hoping to move here next year. So, I want to build some actual friendships so I could have a community here in Belgrade. On that note, I also made the effort to try and learn the language. So I think we'll end this segment here, and next we'll talk about the Serbian language. The Serbian language, in my opinion, is pretty interesting. There are about 7 million people in Serbia, like I mentioned, and another 7 million ethnic Serbs abroad. However, you have to go back in time a little bit to understand how many people truly speak Serbian today. In the 1980s, when Yugoslavia was still a country, we considered Serbo Croatian to be one language. It was also sometimes called Yugoslavian. Basically, the 1990s was a very destructive and divisive period here in the Balkans. So, the country that was formerly known as Yugoslavia divided in that period. And officially, there were four new languages that were created. So today we consider Serbian, Croatian, Montenegrin, and Bosnian to be separate languages. And I consider this to be true for cultural and political reasons. As a linguist, I would more tend to say that they are like dialects of the same language. So, out of respect for those people and what happened during that era, I will say that they are separate languages. But at the same time, it's important to know that people are able to understand each other from different countries. So it is comprehensible from their perspective, which is great. It does give you access to more countries here. And that's one of the reasons why I was open to learning Serbian. 3 weeks ago, I started taking classes, and they're in person, 3 hours a day, Monday to Friday. So that's 15 hours of classes a week. And I have to say that I've been very happy to take them. It's at the Serbian Language and Cultural Center, and I would recommend them if you are interested in learning Serbian. I know it's not for everyone, but that's what I feel I have to do to properly integrate here in Serbia. So overall, I feel like I've learned a lot in the 3 weeks. I'll take another 3 weeks with the same school, and after that, I'll move on to remote learning. But I have made a commitment to actually learning Serbian. It has its challenges, but then other things are easier. Like the alphabet, although it can look intimidating, is actually pretty straightforward because one letter equals one sound. It's very unlike English and French in that way. It's more like Spanish with some funky letters in there as well. So, how comfortable are people speaking English here? It varies widely. Um, Not to be judgmental, but my understanding is that people who are less educated don't speak English as well. Sometimes, like, barely at all. And that's kind of an interesting dynamic, and I really don't mind because I do want to learn the language. But basically, Serbian people tend to be good with languages just because geographically, like they're very incentivized to learn something else, especially if they're a bit more well off or they value education more in their family. So some of them will learn German for economic reasons, or they could, go for Italian, which has had a big impact on Serbia historically. And they may also go with a language like Russian. But as a tourist, I think you could comfortably navigate here, getting the basic communications that you need, but you're definitely going to be lacking in terms of nuance if you want to get something more specific. If you go to a touristy area, obviously there's more people that speak English, but you don't have to go that far out to find someone that doesn't really understand English that well. So buyer beware. Some people choose to move to Belgrade and not learn the language. I find that difficult, and I think it would be socially isolating even over the medium term. Like, I was fine for 2 weeks, just kind of walking around and living in my own bubble. But now that I'm at least making an effort to learn the language, I'm very happy with that. And as someone that's in the business of languages, I think it's important to practice what I preach and be able to do something that's out of my comfort zone, but still enjoyable for me. So, just to wrap things up, I'll do a quick overview of a few other topics that came to mind. Um, Food. The quality of the food here is very high and it is inexpensive compared to Ottawa. So, I've been very happy with that. And especially things like produce, it's just so good and reasonably priced that I quite enjoy that. So, to be able to go to the grocery store and buy things like berries that I really enjoy has been great. Another thing that has been interesting here is just kind of the social dynamics, because it seems as though people are a bit more like stone faced, but I think that's an Eastern European thing. I have heard that before, but I have to say that I felt the Balkan hospitality in many different moments. People here are very generous. They want you to feel welcome, especially if you make an effort with the language, as I'm trying to do. So that's been really good. And, one great example was that opera in a bar setting that I posted about previously. It really was a great evening. And like the whole idea was really to make people feel welcome here and have an authentic experience in a kafana. So I've been uh, not surprised, but I've been very satisfied with how welcoming people are here. And I guess related to that is the kind of party vibe of Belgrade. It's sometimes known as one of the big party cities in Europe. And I could say it definitely lives up to that expectation. I'm personally not looking to go out till 3 in the morning, 2, 3 times a week. But it's nice to know that that option's there and that there is this liveliness that's very inviting, and it's not necessarily as expensive as you may think because, you know, beer is pretty cheap. I've posted about it before, but there were these, I think there were Stella Artois cans for like 60 cents or something. It's ridiculous. And even in the bars and that, it's reasonable. So I quite enjoy that. So I think we'll wrap it up here. Like I said, I've been here for 5 weeks, be here for another 5 weeks, and after that, we'll be moving on to Bosnia. So I have a Airbnb in Sarajevo for 5 weeks. I'm very much looking forward to that. And I'll keep you posted on different things. We're going to delve into some topics. But I do want to ask you, do you have any questions if you got this far? Because I'm trying to think about different things to post about. I'm trying different formats as well. So Feel free to leave comments. Obviously, likes are appreciated. Follow me on all of the platforms and blah, blah, blah. I'm a shitty influencer and all that stuff. But yeah, please let me know what you think, and maybe I'll actually switch things up. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll check in with you next time. Bye.